We are live on a Tuesday. It's the 22nd of April. Sarah, clearly my mind is still in Colorado. I'm sorry about the Twitter thing. I know we both updated our captions. We're ready to go. Welcome inside the vault for a Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. It is Tuesday, the 22nd of April. I'm Bobby Trossett, as always, joined alongside my co-host and partner, Sarah Ellison. We've got a jam-packed show for you coming up over the next hour, including Mark Andrews speaking for the first time since that divisional round playoff loss back in January. He opened up to ESPN. It was a written interview, so this is not an on-camera type of conversation that was had, but we will have our takeaways from that. Did the Lamar Jackson, Jalen Milroe conversation just get taken to new levels? I think it did. I think you think it did. We're going to have a good conversation about that coming up in just a bit. And of course, yesterday, being that the offseason program has officially started for the Ravens at one winning drive, we heard from several players, including Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum, who are both eligible for those fifth-year option extensions. So lots to get to. It's great to see you. Thanks for covering yesterday. I hear you gave an incredible sermon. That's what they're saying in the comments section. I haven't had a chance to catch up with that, but knowing you, it did not miss. You did not miss on Sunday. I'm sure we're going to catch up on what your weekend consisted of, what we were up to in the Denver area, visiting my sister and her fiance, and we have a draft to get ready for on Thursday night in our annual mega cast. So yeah, need we say any more? Let's get started.
Hey, let's go. We're a couple days out. It's Tuesday. Draft is on Thursday. News is dropping again. It feels so good. But let's find out how everybody feels about this interview that Mark Andrews gave to, I think, Jameson Hensley of ESPN. And so there were kind of two topics addressed here, Bobby. One, as you teased up top, about the trade speculation going on. And then he was asked more about what happened on that 2-point conversion in the divisional round against Buffalo Bills. So we'll start with the trade speculation. Everybody knows about it. We've discussed it here in the vault quite a bit, I would say. And here's what Mark said. He said, at the end of the day, I think Eric DeCosta said it perfectly. He's in the business of keeping great players. And it's a business at the end of the day. You can't be surprised by anything, but I'm a Raven. Okay, so we'll start with just that part before we get to the divisional round and his thoughts on that 2-point conversion or the lack thereof. What did you think of this first comment on trade speculation, which I'm sure he has seen hit his feed?
A level of professionalism and self-awareness that I think is impressive. The right thing to say. Obviously, at this current moment, he is a Raven. We all know that a lot of moves can be made, a lot of calls can be put in over the next 48 hours leading into the draft. But as of right now, that's the case. I also thought there was a good level of awareness that he has been at least caught up to speed on what Eric DeCosta has been saying, not only about him, but just throughout the course of this offseason, even if it was something that PR kind of tipped him off on. I just thought it was the right thing to say, a good approach. I know that, you certainly would have wanted to have him on camera all the way back in January. That did not happen. We got a statement from him instead after that divisional round loss that he posted on social media. And now this is the first time since that he has given an interview to a local media member or really any media member. So all things considered, I just thought it was a professional way to handle this first part of the snippet.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was a professional way to do it. And, Mark is, typically a really professional guy. And I agree with him. I think he has a good relationship with Eric DeCosta. And I kind of like that he stuck his chest out a little bit here, Bobby, in the sense that he says, Eric DeCosta said it's a business of keeping great players. Basically saying, I'm a great player. And he's in the business of keeping great players. That means he's in the business of keeping me. So now he puts in there because, as he should, anything could happen, right? That's why we're waiting for the draft night to actually happen. And surprises can happen. And he says that. He acknowledges that. You can't be surprised by anything. But I'm a Raven. So he's a Raven. He's got a good relationship with the front office. He stuck his chest out a little bit, calling himself a great player. And so why wouldn't you want to keep me? But wasn't sticking his chest out so much that it was like, cocky or anything like that. So I liked that answer. I thought it was a good answer from Mark Andrews. Okay, so then they transition into later. Now, this is the part I really wish we had video, because I think sometimes the context helps a little bit. We don't know how the question was asked, how it all came up. But basically, the way Jameson, summarized it was that Andrews told him that on that 2-point conversion, on the play prior to it, he had gotten hit and fell to the ground. Obviously, it was snowing. So he gets back up and he tells Jameson that his gloves were, quote, soaked heading into that final 2-point conversion play. And he says, quote, "I'm thinking, do I take them off? Do I not? It was so fast and so quick that it just happened. At the end of the day, I still should have caught the ball. I still should have made that play," close quote. So your reaction on this part of the interview?
I have no problem with any of that whatsoever. And I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of what we're all wondering. What's the context? How was it brought up? What was his tone? What was his demeanor? What was the body language? Mark is a proud player. Mark is a professional through and through. I think there's a level of accountability that's included in there. And I think there's a level of transparency as well. He wasn't sure what he should be doing in that moment. Now, we all know that all 10 of his other teammates that were on the field at that time, including on the other side of the ball, defensively, all had to make those decisions as well. Everybody was playing under the same factors. Clearly, that's the obvious elephant in the room. But I just appreciate the level of transparency from him here, and I am willing to give him the benefit of doubt when it comes to the genuinity that I am reading essentially through these this is a nonverbal. Yes, it was verbally shared to Jameson in this interview, but we're now trying to interpret these words in a non-spoken way. So right. It's a slippery slope.
Without the context of knowing how the question was asked, Jameson could have been like, "Hey, what happened on that play? Was there something going on? Was it slippery outside? Was it maybe Jameson set it up to where he felt like he needed to mention the gloves? I don't know. Without that context, so I can change my opinion if I got that context. If Jameson put out audio of it, okay? So I'm willing to change my opinion with more context. Without that context, it comes across as an excuse to me, right? If there's context that the way he was asking it kind of like led him to finally, kind of bring that up, I don't know. But to me, it feels like a little bit of excuse making. I don't know. Take off the gloves then. Like, to me, you said there is a level of accountability. I agree. He does say, I still should have caught the play, or I still should have caught the ball. I still should have made that play. To me, if I'm giving you could have just said that. You know what? And I don't know, again, I don't know how Jameson asked it, but say like Jameson was leading him down that road. You know what, Jameson, I appreciate the question. Sure, there's always things that can explain what happened, but at the end of the day, I don't want to get into that. At the end of the day, I just should have made the play. But when you bring up the gloves and he's maybe he's taking us into a state of mind or whatever, but to me, that's just not going to play well. That's going to come across as an excuse. Oh, so it's the soaked gloves fault, type of thing, even though he says I still should have made the play. But now that's going to be something that people can talk about. And it's something that they're going to be like, well, take off the gloves then, like this isn't rocket science. If it's going to be a problem, you're a professional football player. I'm sure his gloves have been wet before. I'm sure they've been soaked before. What did you do in the past? And if you kept them on and in the past when they were soaked and you were catching it, then don't bring it up. But if soaked gloves, I mean, he's had plenty of practice in the rain and in the snow with wet gloves. What are you supposed to do? And then do that. You're a, I don't know, 8-9 year professional at this point. So to me, I don't know the context, but the way it was presented in this article, it felt like an excuse to me.
I think it's totally fair. I go a different direction in terms of appreciating the transparency, appreciating the level of accountability. But I also could see why anybody like what you just laid out would feel that way, because it was brought up. he could have very easily not brought up that inner conflict that clearly was going through his mind and has been, I'm sure, all off season long, right? Gloves or no gloves. Mm-hmm. But he chose to take us inside, and I appreciate that.
One other thing I want to say. Here we are 2 days before the draft, and we're talking about this. This is one of the reasons, and this is not to bury him, but and he doesn't listen to our show, whatever. But again, if I was talking to my son, I'd be like, you know what? It's just always better to address it right away, right away, because it's just going to linger. By you not talking right away, it's just going to linger, and the questions are going to come up the next time you're in front of reporters. And Bobby, it's going to come up again, because he was promoting some stuff with diabetes and the work that he does in that community, which is top notch, right? And so had he chosen to speak with reporters Sunday or Monday, the day following the game, they could have asked all these questions. He didn't address that type of thing in his Instagram post. That's why you do it. So to me, what I would tell my kids is be like, look, this sucks. I know you're gutted, but the best way to go about this is just go face the music right away, because all it's going to do is linger. So now he, by not speaking then, is dragging it out. And here we are on April, and Jameson's asking the question. And because it was only Jameson that got to talk to him, the next reporter that maybe he gives a one-on-one interview is going to ask about it. And then it's going to come up again when he's finally at podium, which will probably happen at OTA sometime. And so at that point, it'll probably be able to turn a page, because all the reporters for their editors and for their newspapers are going to have to ask the question. That's their job. So you either get that done in January, or you keep letting it string out. And so people will be upset at reporters or content creators like us, like, why are you still talking about this? Mark set it up this way by not speaking that day. It's just going to keep bleeding out because he chose not to address it right away. That would be advice to my children. He's not my son, but that is what I would tell him to do. Bite the bullet, do it right away.
Having the foresight, right, of that vision of all of what you just outlined, which is completely true. It's not going away whatsoever. Easier said than done back in January, right? When you're having essentially less than an hour, you would think, less than 30 minutes or so to gather yourself before you say yes or no to PR to get to the podium. I mean, having that foresight, boy, I don't disagree with anything you just said, but you are so gutted. You are so lifeless in that moment that he made a decision in an emotional moment that I think a lot of us can relate to and appreciate, having maybe been in similar situations to lesser of a magnitude with less people that are waiting for you, right, that you have to answer to as a professional in the public light the way that he is. Tough. It is tough.
It for sure is tough. And that is why I would tell my children to do it. It was as you termed it, my sermon yesterday. I'm saying this because I know it's better for him. And Bobby, I hear you in the emotional moment of Sunday. You don't have that on Monday. If I'm in PR, I'm explaining this to him. Mark, this sucks. We don't blame you. We're all a team here. Let me tell you, with my 15 years or 20 years or 30 years of experience in PR, let me tell you what the best move to do right now is. And so that next day, when I still remember it to this day, when why am I forgetting his name? Orlovsky, the next day, was explaining all the compassionate side to this. I agree with that. But true compassion builds you up. It doesn't infantilize you. You know that he's a professional. You know that he's tough. And you can even say he makes millions, but put the millions aside. He was strong enough for that moment. He was strong enough. And anybody that's like, gives him excuse to leave, you're infantilizing him. Let him be strong enough. Encourage him to be strong enough. Look the ugly in the eye right now. Don't give him the excuse. Hey, I know it's tough. I know this is, I agree with all of that. It's going to make you stronger at the end of the day. And you're not going to be as worried the next time we call your number because you faced it right away. Like, I know it's tough, but encourage him to be stronger. Don't give him the excuse. He could have done it. He could have. I know he's strong enough. I know he's professional enough. He could have done it, and it would have been better for him. And that's why true compassion builds you up. It doesn't encourage you to shrink. Don't encourage him to shrink. Encourage him to be stronger.
I don't think there's really a level of disagreement here. And I'm not saying that you don't have empathy for Mark whatsoever. I think I'm just leaning on the empathy that I have for that moment, the magnitude of the moment. And with all due respect to the Ravens public relations team, do they have a certain level of weight? Do they hold a weight within the mind of Mark Andrews, within the heart of Mark Andrews in that moment, that what they were saying potentially, if there were words or if there was a conversation to be had, did that hold enough weight to truly move him in that moment? Right? You're speaking of these.
Who knows? Maybe they did kind of say that. You're right.
You're speaking of these fatherly figures, right? These motherly figures, these lights in people's lives, right? That as a parent, like you use that analogy, which I think is totally fair. Mark had his teammates, his coaches, and the PR staff in those moments. Does he have those types of relationships with those people in that building, in that moment, that could have swayed him in the direction that you and many others hoped he would have gone to, which would have been facing the music then? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I know we both have empathy for him. Yes. I think you're taking a probably a more active approach in this than I am, but I don't think there's a disagreement.
Okay, cool. And just real quick as a follow-up, we had a super chat the last time we talked about Mark Andrews. They were talking about Mark Andrews in the playoffs versus Isaiah Likely. I couldn't find stats in the postseason of drops. Obviously, we know, he had the one on the 2-point conversion. I feel like there's a few drops out there. Maybe somebody else might have that stat if somebody can tell us. But Mark Andrews has played in 8 games in the postseason, 29 receptions on 53 targets, 315 receiving yards, 1 fumble, 0 touchdowns. So that calculates out to just under 40 receiving yards per game. Isaiah Likely has had fewer games. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 games. He's got 15 targets, 11 catches. I mean, that's a high catch rate. Much higher than the 29 to 53, right? 176 yards, 2 touchdowns, no fumbles. I don't know the drops for either one of them. It wasn't in PFR. So somebody was trying to say that, the numbers are similar. I just think it's pretty clear that Isaiah Likely's numbers per game and the impact he's had has been better in the playoffs.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Despite the small sample size that you referenced, they've been, and no sense in going back to Friday. I think we had a nice back and forth there, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how these two are used and what the future is for, the player with more upside at this point, right? The younger player, and that is Isaiah Likely. Both guys are going into the final years of their deals. Lots going to change between now and the end of the season. So
Adam78 said Andrews has 8 drops in the playoffs. Adam, do you know the drops for Isaiah Likely? We'll give him a second to respond.
Yeah, we'll give him a second. We'll get some super chats and some gifted memberships that are being thrown out here today. First and foremost, King Lee, who's in the airport right now, if I saw that correctly in the live chat earlier on, just became a new channel member of ours, which we appreciate. So welcome to the membership, King. You are officially a Voltron member.
And how about Yo-Jitsu? I think I also saw him say earlier in the chat that he got his degree recently. That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
King,
great.
confirm or deny that, please. Yo-Jitsu, feeling generous on this Tuesday, gifted a Vault membership out, a Voltron membership out. And Tila was kind enough to let us know, because we can't see it until we go into the back end of our YouTube studio, that it was gifted to Chris. So that's super cool. And King Lee, Sarah also threw in a super chat.
He says, great video yesterday, Sarah, especially the end. It made me feel a type of way in a good way. Thank you. I appreciate that, King Lee. Thank you.
And thanks for becoming a channel member ×2. King, you're making me think I got to go back and listen to the last 15, 20 minutes or whatever it went yesterday for sure when I got the time.
Yo, he just confirmed he did get his degree.
Congrats, man.
Congrats.
Awesome. Yo, Jitsu, and another one on top of the gift that ended up in the lap of Chris. Yo, Jitsu writes, when is the Voltron's merchandise coming out? Well, we, during our Vault Summit, ended up getting vector files that we needed. This is like nitty-gritty stuff for how we're putting together our merch line here. But it's in the works. It's taken a little bit longer. I think all along our idea was to hopefully get it started by next season. At least that's what I was thinking at points, especially when the postseason ended early. We were going to drop it during the postseason, but then there's just so many little nitty-gritty details that you got to work out. So it's in the works. It's one of our off-season projects, and it was definitely something that was a topic during the Vault Summit in Columbus. Appreciate you for wondering. Let's get a read in here, Sarah, before we shift gears to press conferences and whatnot. And you guys know the drill by now. Our brand sponsor and the official sleep mask partner of the Vault is Manta Sleep. And these sleep masks, as you can see right now, if you peruse through mantasleep.com, which you can click on that link that's included in the show notes and also a pinned comment right now in the live chat. These sleep masks guarantee you a number of things. True 100% blackout for a deeper sleep. You've got C-shaped eye cups for unbeatable side sleep comfort. Zero pressure is applied to your eyelids or lashes. You got advanced materials and ventilation for unmatched breathability. And when you hover on over here to the sleep mask tab, you'll see the sound mask, the Manta Sleep Mask Pro. By the way, we're giving one of these out randomly coming up on Thursday night during our mega cast. Looking forward to that. This was the mask that I know I use religiously, especially when I'm on the road. So as comfortable as I was, Sarah, in Tori and Francisco's guest bedroom, the blinds were a little bright in the morning. So the sleep mask was big for me. The silk and the original sleep mask, good options as well. There is a kid one out there, which gives you a lot of comfort for 6+ up, I guess, kids. The steam mask, the cool mask, the weighted mask, number of them to choose from. If you find something you like, use our discount code at checkout. That's VAULT10, VAULT10. That'll get you 10% off your next purchase. And continued thanks to Manta Sleep for all the support that they give us throughout off season and all year long. Sarah, we got one more super chat as well.
John R., you guys are awesome. So are you, John. Thank you.
Appreciate you, John. Appreciate all of you guys for being with us on this Tuesday. There's over 1,400 concurrents right now, Tila. Please, on your way in, if you could, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell. And if you do, that notifications bell is going to be important because you will be notified on Thursday night at 7 o'clock when you and I kickstart our mega cast for the 2025 NFL draft. Really looking forward to that, finalizing a few things. Guess who I sat next to in the row over? I guess it was more of a diagonal type of seating here on my Southwest flight last night back from Denver. Any guesses when it comes to Ravens legends? We've had him on the show. I know you probably have a general level of familiarity with him. He was a former linebacker. I love him. Who was it?
Shoot, when you first said Denver and a former Raven, I was like, oh, Shannon Sharpe, because he's been to both.
I don't think he wants to be seen in public right now. He's got a lot going on.
I have missed whatever Shannon Sharpe news you were talking about. Sounds like I should be happy about that.
Yes, I think so.
Last news I heard is he was getting like $100 million contract for media.
And
that's
then
not what you're referring to.
Directly after that. And now there's a TMZ clip. We will fill you in after the show.
Okay. Shoot. Linebacker, Ravens legend.
Well, okay. How about this? He's a part of the Legends community. And he's a Super Bowl champion. And he only spent about 3 or 4 seasons in Baltimore. He was a 2000 winner.
Who was next to Ray that year? Jamie Sharp? Was he
close? He's within that. I'm just gonna tell you because I put you on the spot.
Was it Femi?
Jamie was a no. Jamie
no,
was
no, that was a different. I saw people talking about Femi in here. I'm like, what? Because Femi was a running back. His brother was the linebacker.
Yep. Yeah. Brendan, and Femi.
Yeah.
By the way, hopefully we'll track him down for draft night. I still got to reach out to him this week. Look at the guesses coming in here. Lewis says Adalius Thomas. There was a Femi guest that was out there, which is not the correct position. That's okay.
You're talking about inside linebacker, right? Adalius was more outside.
I'm talking about outside.
Oh, you are talking about outside.
Yeah.
Suggs? No, you said 3 or 4 years.
No Suggs.
3 or 4 years outside line. Doomerville?
Nope.
That would have been a good one.
Actually, you may have to correct me on if he was outside or inside because this is well before my time. But anyway, it's Brad Jackson.
Oh, Brad Jackson.
Yep. Brad Jackson was on my
You
flight.
guys catch up?
Was he outside or inside?
Well, I want to say inside, but let's
Okay.
make sure.
Maybe some
Because
of
I
the
wasn't
OGs
covering
did.
the Ravens in 2000 either.
No worries. But I will tell you guys that Brad is the best, and I had no clue that he was literally a diagonal seat from me, one row up for the whole flight until I got up at the very end and saw him with a Ravens Legends backpack on. And I was like, Brad? And he goes, Bobby? I was like, what are you doing, dude? And he was like, I'm on my way back from Colorado, me and the lady. I was like, oh. So we just caught up. It was awesome. And then I was like, hey, do you want to come on Thursday night? He's like, text me the morning of. I said, I will.
It's so funny how like a lot of people want to be texted the morning of, especially former players and players.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But then for us, it's like sweating because we're like, are we going to have guests? But they don't want to like commit until the day of. Yeah.
And in full transparency, that's the reason why we haven't really like given you guys big updates in terms of the guests. Like you can guarantee that we will have guests. We don't want to spoil anything yet. And obviously we want to make sure we book it with respect to these guys and their schedules.
Yeah. All right. Well, it just keeps listing him as linebacker. I'm pretty sure he was inside though. Pretty sure.
Here's what's hilarious. Femi, based on the comment that he just dropped in, is well like behind the current real time of this live stream. So he's gonna hear himself talked about here in about probably 5 minutes because he's still at the Mark Andrews side of things. But yes, to be clear, Femi was the running back, special teams guru, was with the Ravens from 99 to 01. And then of course his brother Brendan Ayambadejo was the stud on defense. So there you go.
Brendan was at the Ravens when I was there, but Femi was gone by the time I was around there.
Love it.
All right. Should we move on to Lamar Jackson and the newest level of comparisons with Jalen Milroe?
That tangent was brought to you by my Colorado mind, and I'm still on Mountain Time. Yes, let's do it. So last week, Sarah, we spoke about Andrew Berry's comments. And I think this is where this kind of all started to catch a little bit of steam. He's the general manager of the Cleveland Browns, as we know. Jalen Milroe is a prospect at the quarterback position out of Alabama. We probably know this by now. Is he a projected first-round pick? Don't know. He's getting the invite. He accepted an invitation to be in Green Bay. We know that.
Yeah.
But Andrew's comments got this whole thing started. And he essentially said he may be faster than Lamar Jackson, and was highly complimentary of Jalen's game, what he's done at the Alabama level, how that might translate to the NFL level. But since then, Sarah, it's taken a little bit of a new life, I would say. Jalen has spoken on this, and Tom Pelissero, NFL insider, has relayed conversations that he's had with NFL people around the league. Where should we begin?
Well, let's go ahead and start with Jalen Milroe. I guess he was on with Kay Adams of the Up and Adams show, and she asked him, hey, Andrew Berry, he said you could be faster than Lamar. Would you beat him in a race?
Andrew Berry, president GM of the Browns, said that you could maybe beat Lamar Jackson in a race. Maybe you're faster than him. Now you're competitive. Are you faster than Lamar?
I agree.
You said what?
I agree.
You agree? How much? Like you really? I can't wait to see you in the NFL. I just can't wait.
Hold on, I gotta replay Kay. Watch Kay after he says I agree, but she couldn't quite hear him. Her eyes.
Are you faster than Lamar?
I agree.
You said what?
You said what? I agree.
Oh yeah. You almost couldn't hear him. It was so under his breath and so quick.
Yeah.
He was so quick. I thought for a second he said accurate. I couldn't hear anything.
Yeah.
So then you got to go rewind it like you just did. Clearly he is saying, I agree. And he said it twice.
Okay. Listen. I'm here for players to have confidence for sure. Right. For sure. But I have been saying this entire time, like when Andrew Berry gave his comments, I was like, man, you can't do that to Jalen Milroe. You can't do that to him. to put him in the same conversation as Lamar. Like, it's just not fair to the young man, right? Well, forget that. Jalen Milroe seems totally fine with all of this. So he is not shying away from the comparisons. So I am no longer at all have a problem with that, what Andrew Berry said, because I just didn't like that he was putting Jalen Milroe in a in a tough situation that's not doing him any service. So there's the first part. Second part, Bobby, if Lamar Jackson was on, if he actually liked to do media, okay, and he was on the Up and Adams show, and she says, hey, Lamar, people are saying that you're better than Michael Vick. What do you think Lamar Jackson would say?
Heck yeah.
No, he wouldn't.
Yes, he would.
No, he wouldn't.
Yes, he would.
He would give here's what he would say. He's like, man, Michael Vick, that's my guy. He's like, I looked up to him as a young kid. And I wanted to be like him. He'd probably call him a goat. He calls all quarterbacks before him a goat.
Yes.
And then he might show some confidence. And I appreciate, those comparisons. My story's not written yet, this and that. Lamar always gives respect. He's uber confident, but he gives respect. He remembers the shoulders upon which he stands today. And he continues to create his own legacy, but he always gives love. Calls Brady the GOAT, calls Aaron Rodgers the GOAT, calls Michael Vick the GOAT. That's what he always does. And he's been asked about Michael Vick 100 times. Oh man, I looked up to him so much. So I would have appreciated, I like the confidence that he has here, but I would have appreciated like a little bit of like, hey man, Lamar Jackson, I've been watching him. He's so good. It's just great to be in the conversation. Of course, I'm always going to choose myself. I have confidence in myself, but there was none of that given to Lamar. None. There was not like, let me lead with respect to the guy who is for sure the best dual threat quarterback in the NFL right now, and arguably the best all time with Michael Vick. And so I would have liked to have heard before his confidence shown a little bit of love to his elder statesman personally.
I got you. I think there's an inner level of competitor that you're seeing from two different ways to answer the question. Now, can I clarify something with what you just said? You just asked me, what would the question be about Mike Vick? Can you just clarify that? What would the question be posed to Lamar about Mike Vick? Are you better than him at this point? Is that what you asked?
Faster or whatever, Here's another thing. Let me say this. People have asked Lamar Jackson who he's faster than a million different ways. They've never asked him specifically about Jalen Milroe. Lamar always responds like that. Oh, no, he can have it. He can have it. No, he's faster. He can have it. They've made that joke with other players that are currently on the team. They've done it at training camp before with new fast guys that come in. He's like, oh, no, he's faster. He's faster. He can have it. He doesn't even he's not trying to prove anything.
Okay.
He's been asked that faster question with different players, several times. And that's been his response.
Fair.
And Jalen's not Lamar. They're two different people. Jalen can be Jalen. I personally, you just want to give a little hat tip to the guys that have come before you.
I get it. There's a level of humility that you're looking for there. I think when you look at a player that's coming out of school and the polish or lack thereof, maybe when it comes to media, that might not be the best reflection of Jalen, right? That 19-second clip may not be the best reflection of who he is, what he stands for, how he views Lamar, right? The way in which he sees the way that Lamar and others before him have paved that path. But I get it. I think that's fair. That's totally fair.
All right. Well, what did the scouts and coaches have to say? What do they tell Tom Pelissero?
That's the second level of this, right? You got Jalen standing 10 toes down when it comes to Andrew Berry's comments.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got Tom Pelissero sharing this on NFL Network recently.
Eye-opening thing that several coaches and scouts told me as I was making calls about all these quarterbacks is Jalen Milroe is the greatest runner of the football they've ever evaluated at the quarterback position. Not Lamar Jackson. Jalen Milroe is the best runner that they've ever seen.
That from Tom Pelissero, and we do have a slide on that. Here it is right here. You heard him right there. NFL coaches, NFL scouts, multiple of them are referring to Jalen as the best runner they've ever seen. Talking to Tom Pelissero prior to the draft, he made a bunch of calls throughout the weekend. Your initial thought was what when you saw it?
LOL. Also, here's my second thought to that. This is unreal. Yeah, LOL, laughable. Yesterday, I defended Andrew Berry when you weren't here, Bobby, but I had played a clip from Nightcap where Chad Ochocinco felt like Andrew Berry had disrespected Lamar. I didn't think that he had. I thought Andrew Berry was like trying to say it in a fun, like, I think he might, maybe could be faster, but don't tell Lamar. And I saw it more as like a standard. So I didn't think that Andrew Berry disrespected Lamar. This to me is more disrespectful, especially when they're these nameless faces. And it's like, are you guys like, is this even at all honest? Bucky Brooks said it perfectly. NFL coaches and scouts are funny. Lamar Jackson ran for 4K plus yards and 50 touchdowns in 3 years at Louisville. More than 4,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. He had back-to-back seasons with 1,500 plus rush yards in a single season, twice. Bucky Brooks says, at some point, we have to check the facts when we're making the Milroe comparison. Bobby, twice Lamar Jackson had a single season with 1,500. Jalen Milroe has just over 1,500 over his entire 4 years at Alabama. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Here's the third thought I had. First, LOL. Then, where's your homework? Let's live in reality. And number 3, NFL scouts and coaches still 8 years later have not learned their lesson with Lamar Jackson. I swear on my life, they can't. These have got to be the same people that didn't think that he could make it as a quarterback. It's like, I just can't fathom any other way. Like you waited for him to be drafted for the Ravens to get him at number 32. Then he was available when the Ravens didn't put the restricted franchise tag on him. And now here we are again, and you still haven't learned your lesson? And you know what? I don't know what Jalen Milroe's career is going to be. Maybe he'll get somewhere and somehow turns it on in the running department. But why? Why even do this? It's insane to me. The numbers in college aren't even comparable. And then for him to do this at the NFL level, where Lamar Jackson has already passed Michael Vick and is the all-time career rushing leader from the quarterback position. It's not even close. NFL coaches and scouts, whoever these nameless people are, have not learned their lesson about Lamar Jackson.
You know, I don't find it as disrespectful as you do. And here's why. The numbers are incomparable. You just mentioned that clearly. That's inarguable. Lamar's numbers through the roof. And guess what? He did it in one less year than Jalen Milroe. He did it in 3 years at Louisville. I looked at this like, okay, put the numbers aside for a second. Lamar was Louisville. That's ACC football, and he was that team. He had to do what he did in order for them to be competitive. At Alabama in the SEC, Jalen had so much more around him, obviously. That's the obvious point here. And so if you put the numbers aside for a second, Jalen at his pro day ran a 4.4. I mean, that is...
Which was slower than Lamar.
That's big time. Big time.
His pro day 40 was slower than Lamar Jackson's pro day 40.
What was Lamar's? 4.3?
One was like 4. They were like separated by less than a half a second.
Let's just get this right.
I had the numbers on yesterday. Let me see if I can pull it up from yesterday.
Just so we have it correct here. He was a 4.34.
Oh, I'm correct, Bobby.
Okay. Lamar was a 4.34. Jalen's down for a 4.4. Okay. So we're talking about now, obviously, when it comes to the 40, there's a big difference between the two, right? The milliseconds make up a big difference. Both ran ridiculously fast times for the quarterback position. When I think about these NFL scouts and coaches that were talking to Tom Pelissero, my interpretation of this is that they're trying to foresee how Jalen's game translates to the NFL. And they're looking at, despite the sample size being significantly smaller in terms of overall performance and statistics that were put forth by Jalen compared to Lamar during his time at Louisville, how does that translate over? They are strictly speaking to evaluation from a college perspective. They're not putting any of what Lamar's done, which has been generational and transcendent over the last 7 seasons in the NFL, into that equation. That's the way that I interpreted it. So I guess why I don't view it as disrespectful as you do is I'm looking at this as Lamar was Louisville, and you take nothing away from the Heisman that he was. Jalen didn't have to do what Lamar did. So who's to say that you go put Jalen in a Louisville type of scheme? You put Jalen outside the SEC. Would he put forth those types of statistics? Maybe.
Well, here's what's funny. The exact opposite argument was used against Lamar in the MVP voting.
Well, yeah. But
Lamar had better stats than he has in the past. Better passer rating, better touchdowns, but like all of it. He had some of his career stats this last year. And why did they take the MVP away from him?
Because
he has a better team around him. He's got Derrick Henry. So which one is it?
Well, no.
Like,
but
no. I know you didn't make that.
Evaluation.
You didn't make that statement. They did. And so, but both can't be true at once. That Jalen has fewer stats because he had a bunch of people, and Lamar had more stats this year because he had a bunch of people around him. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I do. But from an evaluation standpoint, though, right? Statistics in these guys' minds, that doesn't matter. It's a moot point when it comes to the evaluation of these players, right? They're looking at the specific plays, the angles. I think the straight line speed when it comes to Jalen is next level. Can we all agree that there is nobody that's been more elusive, more playmaking, more laterally quick than Lamar in the history of the game? Does Jalen have a chance to be the best straight line runner ever? I have no idea. But I think that might be an area, straight line speed, that he has over Lamar. The elusiveness, nobody has that over Lamar.
Listen, I appreciate that you're trying to read their scouting with grace, because you're saying here's what they're doing. You don't know that, right? You're trying to give them some grace for sure that that's what they're doing. I'll just say this: the NFL coaches and scouts were wrong about Lamar Jackson. They were wrong. They said that he wasn't a good thrower, that some said he needed to change positions, and nobody saw what we're seeing. And so, excuse me if I'm not buying this projection either, because they swung and they missed on the projection of Lamar Jackson. They said he couldn't be a good thrower. And then in 2019, he led the league with the most passing touchdowns. And then last year, he put up the 3rd best passer rating ever. So excuse me if these nameless coaches and scouts, when they miss so bad on Lamar before, that I don't quite buy that their projection is that this young man is going to be better. So
hey, and that's totally fair, right? Because how many of these countless anonymous executive surveys and pieces that Mike Sando's done over the years, right, until the last maybe year or two, or you can even go back to last year with some of the noise about the Jaden Daniels comparison. A lot of this is a form of flattery, right? When it comes to
right, which is what I said yesterday.
Yeah.
But this, I thought Andrew Berry's was a form of flattery. The way his tone, the way he went about it, like maybe kinda, he's the standard. He might be faster, but don't tell Lamar. Like that to me was like the way he said it was a form of flattery. The way Jalen said the last thing was not, was not. And listen, and who knows how these scouts, said it to Pelissero. But the way Pelissero just did it, he knew how shocking it was going to be. He knew it.
Definitely. The difference, though, in my mind, between what Tom shared, which was essentially his research and the follow-ups that he was doing leading into the draft, calling around to all of his context, is that the anonymous surveys to me have they pack a little bit more of a punch. There's a little bit more of an agenda there. And like you said, that both are nameless faces. Nameless faces is the right phrase.
Nameless and faceless. We don't know who they are.
Nameless and faceless. Yeah. The anonymous executives, those pieces seem a little bit more insincere than this does, right? This didn't feel like it was agenda filled. Was Tom the one that kind of put it in the context of adding Lamar into the equation and not just saying, hey, they think so highly of Jalen Milroe that he's the best runner they've ever seen evaluating coming out of college. It just feels like there's a little bit of a difference between the two.
I don't understand your point. Help me understand, why does one feel like an agenda and another one doesn't? Like they're just reporting when they're talking to the scouts and the coaches. I don't know what you mean by that. Like, why does one have an agenda and the other one doesn't?
Well, just the fact that when it's the anonymous surveys, that it's anonymous. Everything's built into usually an off-season type of agenda that goes into this piece.
Whose agenda?
The Athletics. I'm not saying that it's there's a violent. I'm not saying it's
but like the reporter's agenda.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Right. So you're going in with
how does that change? How does that change what the coaches tell them? It's still a quote.
Well, I think you're going into it with the idea of you want to ask some really juicy questions and get some juicy topics, knowing that these guys will not have their names released as a result. With Tom, to me, this was mostly just like, hey, I'm having conversations. Wow, I'm putting 2 and 2 together here. Everybody's saying that Jalen is the best runner that's ever come out of school. Wow, so it's not Lamar. It's unclear. Did he follow up with these guys on the phone and be like, well, wait a second, not Lamar, or did he just add that into his report? Anyway, I just think that there's a difference between the anonymous executive surveys that we'll read in March typically versus what Tom just shared earlier this week. But
they're both anonymous. They're both giving quotes. I don't know why that changes things. All I know is that was a crazy statement that he's going to be a better runner than Lamar Jackson. Give him a minute. My goodness.
Super chats. C. Brittle says Jalen has a slower combine time than Lamar. We shared those. It's a 4.3 versus Lamar's was a 4.34.
No, neither one of them ran at the combine, just to be accurate.
Pro days.
Yeah, both ran at pro days, and Lamar was something like 0.4 seconds faster.
4.34 versus 4.4 for Jalen.
I think
Appreciate you,
I feel like Jalen was 4.37. I'll look it up again. Keep going with the super chats. I'll look it up.
Truth Bearer writes, problem is, even if Milroe could run faster than Lamar as a passer, he's not even more accurate than Deshaun Jackson. And that is the area of Jalen's game that's keeping him away from sort of that bona fide top half of the opening round. It's the intermediate accuracy. He throws a really beautiful deep ball. But the intermediate passing game is an area that has been a knock of his as I've kind of researched the evaluation part of Jalen as a prospect.
It's 4.37 for Jalen, 4.34 for Lamar.
Thank you.
Yep.
Olu
says, I'm a Bama guy, and Milroe usually is a super humble guy, and they can have the greatest running quarterback. LJ8 is going for greater things. Super Bowl MVP and a third MVP. Glad to hear he usually is. That's good to know. We don't know him as well.
Richard checking in saying 4.40. That's fast. Quote, ... for a linebacker.
As I'm saying, it wasn't that. It was 4.37.
Throwing shots at a, sorry about that. Thank you for clarifying the number there. Mark is chiming in.
Mark says, whomever they are, they must be friends with Bill Polian, LOL.
Diamond Bull writes, Lamar never ran a 40 at his pro day. He refused, didn't want to be looked at as a wide receiver or running back. Lamar's 40 came from the Louisville Speed Day the year prior. FYI, thank you for the context, Diamond Bull. We appreciate you guys for being with us. Press conferences were yesterday, Sarah. We heard from Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum, both former first-round picks, as we know. What was that, the 22 draft? So they're both eligible for fifth-year option extensions. And what were your big takeaways from what they had to share at the podium yesterday?
Yeah, well, so first off, obviously that's the two guys that are eligible for long-term contracts, both Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum. drafted in 2022. And now we've got so many slides in here that I'm confused which one is our slides. Let me get rid of that one. And here we go. All right. So both are the first time eligible for long-term deals because they're out of their third year, but that doesn't mean that they need to get long-term deals right now. And if the Ravens want by May 1st, Bobby, May 1st, so after the draft, Eric DeCosta is going to have to decide who he wants to use a fifth-year option on. So Kyle Hamilton, he was asked about his contract situation. Here's what he had to say, courtesy of Jamison Hensley, this video.
I mean, obviously would be my first one, so not too much, but haven't had too many talks about it, to be honest. You know, they're busy, draft stuff and all that stuff going on. I'm not in a big rush, so if it happens, cool, and if it happens this offseason, cool too, but I'm not in a rush to get it done necessarily.
Is that something?
All right, so he's not in a rush, nor should he be. He's still got one more year on his rookie contract. Could be two if they put the fifth-year extension on or fifth-year option on. But I'm sure it'd be nice for him to be paid sooner than later. So he's in no rush. He personally hasn't had a lot of conversations, but I'm sure his agent has been in touch. He also told Jeff Zrebeck and the others that he really didn't take much time off from the offseason. During the offseason, only like 2 or 3 weeks. He said each year he just keeps coming back. He's like by year 8, it'll be like the day after our season in the weight room. So I'll come back to the numbers on the fifth-year options for both Tyler Linderbaum and Kyle Hamilton in just a second. But any thoughts there before I give you an update on Linderbaum? Same questions about the contract. You want to react to both after they both speak?
You're on a roll. Keep it coming.
All right, here we go. Tyler Linderbaum on his contract situation.
No conversations yet, and let my agent handle that. I'm just focused on just becoming as good of a football player as I can be for this team. Just coming in here every day and put my best foot forward and let all the other things take care of itself.
Did you take note of the Juergens deal that was signed today?
Yeah, I mean, I was just made aware of that. He's obviously one of the best centers in the league, a really high caliber player, so excited for him.
Is that something?
Okay, so both these guys taken pretty professional, trying to be like, you know what? I'm not talking to him. I'm focused on football. My agent's doing it. That's the way to go about it, I think, especially if you have an agent. Try not to talk about it. They asked him about Cam Juergens' new contract that he just got. It was announced yesterday. I went live. He got a 4-year, $68 million contract, so right around $17 million per year. He was keeping it pretty coy. But Bobby, here's the numbers for the fifth-year options. Because Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum both have made Pro Bowls, they would get a little bit more money because of that. So for Kyle Hamilton, even though he's the higher pick at number 14, he would be $18,600,000 in 2026 if the Ravens use the fifth-year option. Is he worth it? Absolutely. But you'd want to avoid that and get him on a long-term deal. That's what you want with your superstars. You don't want to mess with this stuff. You want to lock them up right away. Tyler Linderbaum, he was picked 9 picks later, but because he's also been to the Pro Bowl and because centers get the average money of all offensive linemen, so left tackles are bringing that average money up. So for him, a fifth-year option would be $23.4 million. So Bobby, what this tells me is that the Ravens do not want to use a fifth-year option on Tyler Linderbaum. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
That's too much to pay a center. We just saw Cam Juergens got paid $17 million per year. Tyler Linderbaum is not getting the fifth-year option.
Nope. But you're going to want – these were 2 hits. Hit and hit.
Mm-hmm.
In what, at 14, and then Tyler was somewhere in the 20s back 25. In 2022? 25, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's right there in front of me. 14 and 25. So these are 2, cornerstone pieces in a sense outside of the, the quarterback position and, King Henry at the running back position and Zay at wide receiver, so on and so forth. These are 2 key pieces on each side of the respective balls. Kyle obviously is the more impactful player. when it comes to the playmaking, but I don't think you should discount whatsoever Tyler's overall impact on this team just because he's a center. I mean, this guy is a point guard in a lot of ways for this team. And he and Lamar clearly have a level of rapport that's led to a seamless transition working together. Tyler's the field general in a lot of ways. And I think that, make no mistake, that this offensive line a year ago was categorized as, essentially Eric was preaching patience and almost kind of leading us to believe that they're going to take some lumps in year one with the rebuild and sort of a younger offensive line. Well, they did early. They took their lumps early. But for the most part, this was a group that rounded out into form and was one of the bright spots for sure. They got some pieces to fill, and we'll see what the future is for Fa'alele at right guard and what they're going to do with the left guard competition. But to me, these are two players that, like we've said all offseason, Kyle priority number one, and Linderbaum's got to be right below him in terms of extensions.
Yeah, and because of the way the money works, it makes me wonder, like, to me, if I was only allowed to sign one, and obviously EDC is not only allowed that, but it would have to be, I'd put a priority on Kyle Hamilton. So to me, I'd be like, okay, I want to lock him up. But at the same time, you could probably use the 5th-year option on him. And so if they want to lock up both, then you go ahead and you could do Tyler first and then Kyle. But the question is, and I said this yesterday, they want to restructure Lamar and he'll become the number 1 paid quarterback in the league. At the time, Roquan Smith was paid as the top linebacker in the league. At the time, Mark Andrews was paid the 3rd most of tight ends at the time. You're going to want to sign Isaiah Likely. He's going to be what? I don't know. It depends on what happens this year. But if he were to go off, then he might need to be paid in the top 3 of tight ends also. Marlon Humphrey at the time was paid among the top 3 cornerbacks. I mean, Ronnie Stanley was just repaid. And so I'm just wondering where Tyler Linderbaum fits in all of this. If you can sign both, Tyler Linderbaum might need to be first. But if you're not going to sign him, then it could just be all chips in on Kyle Hamilton, because now you got to pay him the most in the league too. He's going to be the highest paid safety for sure. So you can only make so many players on your team the highest paid at their position. That's for sure. Certainly.
Smitty makes a good point here in the chat. Just prior to Linderbaum, it was sort of a revolving door at center, between Matt Skura, Bradley Bozeman, Patrick McCary. I mean, they were all over the map. And so I just don't think we should, and I'm not saying you are whatsoever, but I don't think it should be discounted, the stability that Tyler has given them. And he has given it to them essentially from the jump since coming out of Iowa. So that obviously shouldn't be overlooked.
Absolutely. And next to Linderbaum, obviously there's an opening at left guard. Voorhees right now is the penciled in starter. We're going to see what happens after the draft. Here's Linderbaum on Voorhees and his potential of just starting there.
Andrew's a starting caliber.
We need to fix StreamYard.
Obviously the thing with him, just obviously coming off the knee injury, I think OTAs last year was the first reps he's gotten in like 2 years. So he's just making jumps and jumps each and every day. I thought he played at a high level for the games that he was in, and then obviously dealing with the ankle injury was unfortunate. He's another guy that have the utmost confidence in when he steps in there that he's going to play at a high level.
Yeah, so I just liked how he put everything in perspective for his teammate, that it's like he really hasn't been able to do much at all. Like obviously that first year he was rehabbing from the combine injury, and then last year the ankle. And so he only had like those 3-4 games that he got to have snaps. And so he feels like he'll be ready to go. And so we'll see if the Ravens end up taking, let's say, Tyler Booker, who Jeff Zrebeck just chose in the first round at number 27 for the Ravens in his 7-round mock draft. If it's Booker, then, he's going to be there. He's going to be the guy. If they get somebody more in the 3rd or 4th round, then, Voorhees will have a pretty good chance of winning it.
What other press conference nuggets you got?
Let's see here. Just before we move totally on from Kyle Hamilton, he's a big golf guy, as you are. So I'm sure if you got to ever play golf with him, that would be fun. Because I'm telling you, half of his press conference yesterday, Bobby, was about the Masters. Like half of it was about golf. And so they were asking him what Marlon Humphrey can do to raise his golf game.
What does Marlon have to do to get there?
Marlon's got to have a talk with God or something to get there. He, you know, he's gotten better. He's always blowing up our group chat about his golf swing and, like, how he can get better and asking me for tips. I was like, I don't know why you're asking me. Like, I'm not the person you should be asking. But he has gotten better. He said he just broke 100 for the first time, 99. So I was like, you're one step closer to the tour.
Well, listen, I've been told from a pretty reliable source that he should be the one being asked because Kyle is a dang good golfer. Okay. Kyle is an athlete through and through. He was a hooper like his father. He's obviously a footballer, meaning not European football, but for all we know, he could play soccer too. But no, Kyle is an above average golfer from what I've been told from people that have played with Kyle at big time courses in the Baltimore area. And based on the courses that he shared throughout that press conference yesterday, Sarah, where not only he went or played to or both this offseason, you don't just go and play at Pebble Beach. Well, I guess you can if you're average and you have the money, but Pebble Beach is not exactly a below average golf spot that people go to often. That's a big time luxury experience.
I love how you
Throwing
needed
that out there.
That gave you a chance to really dig into your golf analysis for these guys. I just love that he said that for Marlowe to get better, he's got to talk to God. So
well, that was hilarious too. And that might not even help either. Based on what I've seen Marlon online, that might not help.
Okay, so Scott Elliott, the head of the strength and conditioning at the Ravens, who under his tutelage has really had two very healthy seasons, although he was quick, Bobby. He was quick to say, hey, it's half preparation, but it's also half luck. So I know that he probably saw what his predecessor went through, and I'm sure at some point the luck will catch up. But yeah, he wanted to make sure that was in there. But he was also asked about how Lamar Jackson will play this year. Remember, the last couple of years he's had kind of different approaches with his weight. Sometimes he wanted to put on more weight to sustain hits. Other times he wanted less weight in order to be fast. Last year we saw skinny Lamar. So on the right is 2022 Lamar, looking pretty big. And on the left was almost 1 year ago today. This is when he came to OTAs. I think it was at the kind of end of May. So about almost a year, about a month away. And Scott Elliott says it's going to be the same plan. Let's keep it going as last year.
100% with Lamar. It's to take what he did last year and continue that process. As you guys saw, he's in great shape. At this point last year, he is again this year. And then we want to just lay down some lean muscle tissue as we got into the season. And you saw that as we got into the season, he was up a few pounds and then played at that MVP caliber level. Obviously, if I had to vote, I know what I would have voted. But that's a plan for this year as well.
All right. So we're going to get year 2 of skinny Lamar, and I'm here for it, Bobby.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think that's all that needs to be said there. Nobody should be questioning his regimen at this point. They've found a sweet spot. Keep it coming.
That's right. Okay. Lastly, I think this is lastly anyway. Roquan Smith was asked about Trenton Simpson. Obviously massive opportunity coming up for him. I remember last year at this time, or maybe not this time, but last year they went to Spain together, these two. Roquan has definitely been a mentor for him, and he's already been working out with him this offseason. Wants to get him ready to start next to him.
First and foremost, for those guys that are that's left, very happy for those guys. They got them a nice little payday as well. So happy to see those guys do that. CB, very happy for him. Malik, and all of those guys. But yeah, Trent, man, I got a great deal of respect for him. Got some good sessions in with him this offseason as well, and just trying to build on our bond with each other as well, knowing what he's thinking in certain situations, and also just knowing what I'm thinking as well, and just getting out and doing more things to create a tighter bond. But I think the guy has all the athletic ability in the world, everything you would want, and I got great faith that he's going to be able to put it all together. And with the addition of our coach, I'm very excited about that as well. Trent is, so it's going to be awesome, and we're excited to get to work. And what's going to happen is going to happen, but we know we're going to prepare. Every day is our last day, so that's the mindset, and I'm very excited for him and his future, though.
Your thoughts, Bobby?
I just think he cultivates leadership. He cultivates a certain level of culture. He's looking out for his running mate, even though I'm sure at times last year there were some frustrations being just when it comes to time on task and assignments and spacing and everything that went into Roquan's slow start, and then ultimately what led to Trenton's demotion. But he referenced, Tyler Santucci, right? He's the new linebackers coach. Mark DeLeon is out. Tyler Santucci, one of the more coveted assistants in the college ranks, is in as the new inside linebackers coach. So this is a fresh start at its finest, Sarah. And you just hope that Trenton can benefit from that in year 3, which will be year 2, really, being that year 1 for him was primarily special teams.
Right. Sitting behind Patrick Queen. And Bobby, last but not least, the last piece of news coming out of Owings Mills yesterday. The Ravens made it official. There were already reports, but the Ravens made official that Ardarius Washington signed his restricted free agent tender contract. So he is indeed inked up and locked in for 2025.
Yeah. And as you said yesterday, right, it was a calculated gamble and it paid off for the Ravens. And so one of their guys that obviously he, as of right now, is the starter alongside Kyle Hamilton. Let's see what happens. Let's see who they draft. Let's see how the offseason program goes. Let's see how OTAs and minicamp and training camp goes. I know you and I think the world of him, but competition breeds excellence, and I know that for sure when it comes to an NFL locker room and whatnot. Patrons, Alistair McLaughlin and John Rourke, appreciate you both. I just botched. Did I botch both these guys' names? I think it's John Rourke and Alistair McLaughlin. Hopefully I didn't botch those guys, but we appreciate you both for the support that you give us through Patreon. This is your monthly shout out. Thank you guys for being part of the Vault Patreon community. And if you're interested in doing the same out there this offseason, just visit patreon.com/RavensVault podcast. You can click on that link that's in the show notes and learn more about what we're offering here inside the channel.
Bobby,
we have at least one other super chat.
Yesterday, even though you loaded it for me, I totally forgot because I was, talking church. I forgot to give the shout outs yesterday for the patrons.
I know you did. I went back.
You did?
The one thing I went back and looked at 2 minutes prior to our show was I just scanned to see if the banner ever came up. Nowhere to be found.
It's so sad that you had to go look.
It's all good.
Okay, so those were yesterday's. Those are the ones
we always know. As both of us know, and I think a lot of our audience knows, solo hosting comes with a different level of brain requirements.
Yes, I know. Well, I forgot that, and then Tila was in the chat today, pretty upset with me because I didn't give her concurrence yesterday. No concurrence.
That one I can sleep okay at night without.
Okay.
All right. I can sleep without the patrons too. But we want to make sure we're giving them love.
We got to give them love. Yeah.
We know
that.
Yeah. One more super chat.
Currents are 1,867.
Let her know. Let her know. It's hilarious too that people are letting us know right now if they'll allow it or not, which I find hilarious in terms of concurrent mentions or not.
Right.
Rave Kingdom gets a super chat on the way out here, and he writes, "Bobby, you okay? First, you said he would say something cocky, then said maybe Milroe will beat Lamar in straight line speed. I don't know. I need to see it. Like the MFers that said they need to see if Lamar can play quarterback." So what do you need to see, Rave? The straight line speed? A race between Lamar and Milroe?
I don't even really care about that, to be honest. It's more like the running stuff that he's going to be he's a better runner. But listen, in my humble opinion, you were very wrong throughout the entire Lamar Jackson segment.
Hey, you interpreted it as
disrespectful. You think I'm wrong, so it's okay.
Just like last week when, we had our Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely discussion. I think these are good, solid debates. I don't find the stuff disrespectful to Lamar. Do I find past anonymous executive snippets disrespectful? Absolutely. This to me felt a little bit different. This felt to me a little bit more evaluative than it did
disrespectful,
demeaning to Lamar. I think this was strictly speaking to what we had our back and forth on.
They know what they're doing, though. They know what they're doing. Come on.
Do they?
I mean, listen. I didn't follow the Patriots as back in the day as much. I just don't remember people being like, "Oh, this guy's a better thrower than Tom Brady." Oh. No, nobody would do that. Nobody did that.
You sure though?
I'm not sure, actually. That's why.
because I think the ultimate, this is a great
That's
way to
why
finish
I
up.
promised it as I wasn't following the Patriots very much. I don't remember it, but I wasn't following them.
A great way to finish this off on a really positive note is that
Yes.
the ultimate form of flattery, to reiterate what we mentioned earlier on, is a form of comparison. The constant comparison when it comes to looking and searching and yearning for the next Lamar Jackson
Yes.
is the ultimate form of flattery. And I know
For
that we
sure.
both are lockstep on that one.
I agree with that.
So
What
it
a
will
good way to
continue.
end it, sir.
It will continue. In other words, this will continue for Lamar because it happened with Jaden Daniels. It happened with Jalen Milroe. It happened earlier on in his career. I don't know if Kyler Murray's the correct one, but there were other players that have come and gone. Some have stayed, some have remained, but it is really a compliment at the end of the day. Appreciate you, partner, for getting us off on the right foot yesterday. Appreciate all of you for spending some time with us today. Appreciate Manta Sleep. We appreciate, all of our Super Chat donors today, 13 strong, especially those of you that were willing to sign up for channel membership and gift channel membership like Yojitsu did today. Chris was on the receiving end of that. So thank you guys. And we really hope to see you on Thursday. It's a 7:00 start for our annual draft megacast. We're going to go up until the Ravens pick and maybe after in terms of analysis. And then mark your calendars. There will also be a stream on Thursday at noon. Then we'll start our megacast at 7. And then you and I are going to turn around and also do a Friday show at noon on I'm sure, limited sleep. So
with my parents coming in town Thursday night. So that'll be
with
fun.
your parents, with a big weekend for Ella, with everything that you have going on. So just know we're finalizing things over the next 48 hours to make it a jam-packed, big-time show like we always try to do this time of year for you. 7:00 Thursday night. Can't wait.
Hey, you were doling out appreciation a second ago. Can I give a little gratitude myself?
Absolutely.
I appreciate you yesterday morning because I was expecting to be totally solo. And so I was like, okay, I got to make thumbnails because that's what Bobby always does. Then I'm thinking, I got to edit this and that. I got to put all the stuff. I got to build a shell in the back end, whatever. Here Bobby is 2 hours behind the Eastern time in Denver, right? So I was started working on the show earlier, thinking you weren't going to be around. And I'm like trying to jump on content because I got to do all that. Then before I know it, I see somebody else making changes in the slides. And I'm like, son of a bee, that guy's up at 7 a.m. in Denver with his sister the day after Easter, and he's trying to help me. So I text you and I'm like, bro, get back to your family. But you had just finished up with like a workout. And then you made the thumbnails for me. You got the shell ready. You got a draft ready for like the podcast. And I was like, you probably put in a good, at least hour and a half of work in just to take stuff off of my plate. Come on. Yeah, you did.
Not
Don't
an hour.
downplay it.
Not an hour.
I've been meaning to give you other compliments now that I'm on a roll. First, I wish people knew how thoughtful of a person you are. Got your thank you card in the mail last week, and the whole family has read it several times. Trevor has it in his office, and Trevor's very clean. Like if you were to see my office, I've got papers everywhere on my desk and this and that. Trevor's always pristine, but he's got your one letter sitting right next to his computer screen. I don't know how long it's going to sit there. So he thought it was a nice gesture. And then again, Denver, you're in Denver, Easter morning. You knew what time I was speaking. You texted me as I was going up to the podium and you said, hey, good luck today, partner. I know you're going to crush it. Let's go. And I'm like, did he set an alarm to wake up on Easter Sunday at 7:30 to send me that? And I've always seen the way you treat your family. You make birthday special. You make special occasions special. You're going out to be with your sister so that she's not alone on Easter. I just feel like one thing that you're for sure you're going to bring a lot of things to the table. But once you get married and have kids, you are going to be a husband and a father that makes special occasions are only special if you make them that way. You are going to make special occasions extremely magical, I think, for your kids and your family, because you're just one of the most thoughtful people I know. And so There you go. I was on a roll. I appreciate you.
I'm getting showered over here. Totally showered. I'm like blown away by that. I didn't expect any of that. And how about the flight thought? Thank you so much for all of that. The flight thought that I had on my way back last night. Am I going to get back to returned mail? Did she not receive it? I'm like, oh no, my thank you card. Did it not make it to Columbus? And I'm thinking, oh no, it's what, like, I had my return address on there. I'm like, oh no, like, so that's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
I'm glad you received it. And we're a team. We're a team through and through, and we've become incredible friends. I think coming off the Columbus weekend, you definitely are the older sister I never had, which I mentioned in my post.
Yeah.
So thank you for all that. I appreciate it.
Much
Very
love.
Very much. And the chat went from destroying me earlier on the show to now showering on top of the showering that I just got. So
I just think that's the way it's supposed to be, that we should be able to like passionately disagree with our football takes. If like we won't make it up, but if we passionately disagree and then when it's over, it's over. You know what I mean?
Oh, it always is. That's one of our strengths.
Yeah.
That's one of our strengths. And Rave making it seem like he's got to get back on my good side, which is definitely not the case. Rave, you give us super chats more than anybody, whether it's Ben Cleveland or not, and we appreciate you. So don't feel like you have to get back in my good graces. He writes, all love, Bobby, no hard feelings. I forgive you. LOL. That's great to know. I'm glad forgiveness has been shown here.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I mean, I didn't expect all that love, but got a great partner, got a great co-host in you, Sarah. You know that. And I can't wait to put on a show this week. It's going to be a great week for us. And I have a feeling that at the end of the weekend, we'll be feeling a lot of gratitude on top of the gratitude that you're feeling and just expressed, because draft weekend is a grind. But it's something that I know that you and I both enjoy. I personally love building out what we're going to put forth this weekend. So that's what we got coming up.
Absolutely. Let's go.
Now you and I are about to catch up on how everything went on Sunday and my Colorado trip. So I guess I'll just leave you guys with this. Denver is a heck of a place. My sister and fiance live out there in a little town called Golden. Sarah, as somebody who grew up in the Colorado area as you did, what's up with the fact that I could experience 3 climates over 72 hours?
That's what
you and I are about to talk about. All right.
When you told me it was snowing outside, I was like, don't worry. It'll be sunny tomorrow and it'll all melt. Don't worry.
Unreal. Showed up in a flurry of snow. It was a blizzard. And then next thing you know, I'm sweating, climbing a friggin' Outlook Cove type hike yesterday before the flight. So anyway,
yeah, that's so Colorado.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. And I can't wait to catch up with you after we finish up the show. So thanks to all of you for spending some time with us on this Tuesday. We'll be back with you on Wednesday, and we're just getting closer and closer. We're inching closer and closer to the start of the 2025 NFL Draft. Go set your calendars. Go hit that notification bell on our show. It's currently right now set for 7 o'clock on Thursday night. It's our annual Draft Megacast, and we will catch up with you before then tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern. For Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off. And as always, Voltrons, we appreciate you for spending some time with us here inside the vault. We'll talk to you.